You going to go to that Ant-Man screening?
Oh, yeah. Got my tickets. Taking my squad, movie squad.
Paul Rudd, he's from Kansas City. He's a Chiefs fan. He'll be rooting for the Chiefs there on Sunday against the Eagles. Gary Payton II has been traded. You see that?
Oh, another man.
Trailblazers sent him to the Warriors for 5 second-round picks. There you go. His dad was a big deal on the Sonics back in the day, right?
Yep.
Gary Payton won.
Yep. And then he went to the Heat. Well, I think he went Sonics, Lakers, Heat.
By the way, devotion to accuracy, because we both whiffed this earlier. Harden's been on the Sixers for a minute.
Oh, I know that.
You said he was still with the Nets.
No. I know he's with the Sixers. I think.
Oh, okay.
I know he was been with the Sixers since last season.
Because I was talking about, I think we both knew, but I don't know, brain fart or whatever, but people were blowing me up last break.
Well, I said that
because Durant left the Nets, and then Kyrie went to Dallas, and then I think
Harden started he was the last one to get there, first one to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that they played like a few games together, like maybe 70 games together total, and then they're all gone now. So I said that they're all gone.
Yeah, somebody said that the three of them played 13 games together.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I have more money for you here in a few minutes. So, next chance to win $1,000 and go fund yourself is about 5 minutes from now. Next week on the show, there are a lot of shows coming to Cleveland this summer and into the fall. Ministry, in addition to doing some festival dates and going out in that Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper run, going to do some headlining dates, one of them here in the spring. Ministry with Gary Newman in Frontline Assembly. That's going to be May 5 at the Agora. I will have those for you next week. If you want to go see Clutch, they're doing May 14th at Jacobs Pavilion. If you want to go to Incarceration, that's 3 days in July out in Mansfield. Slipknot, Pantera, Limp Bizkit, Megadeth, Volbeat, Lamb of God, many, many more. And then if you want to go see Disturbed, they're doing Blossom with Breaking Benjamin and Ginger, end of August. So all four of those shows, all next week. We will be out Monday, but the remainder of next week, I will have all those shows for you. So a little something for everybody, quite frankly. I think I will probably find myself at all four of those shows. And if I find myself there, stands to reason you could find myself there too. Is that how that? Things. Do you see that they're bringing At Midnight back?
Yeah, to CBS.
So
it's going to take over the James Corden spot.
Yeah,
right?
This goes to show you what's happening now with late night television. There have been they keep moving the chains on late night television. It's just the way things are now. There are going to be no more late night hosts that a network pays $8 million a year or whatever, right?
Right, because it's all moved to podcasting.
Well, it's all moved to just clips to YouTube or whatever, and the crowds for late night television are just not.
Conan saw the writing on the wall, and he made that move, and I think it's working out pretty well for him. He's doing real well with his podcast.
Well, yeah, podcast's great once you sell it to someone. You know, you can dick around on your podcast for 10 years, but when someone buys it from you, that's when you cash in.
I think it depends on the audience that you have. If you have an audience like Conan has, where he owns his podcast, he's making really good money.
Well, because you have his
Joe
company.
Rogan,
right?
That but you need that audience. So
you have the people who are the most successful at it are the people who already had a built-in audience from something else, or they did it for some people think Rogan popped out of nowhere. A guy was doing his own thing for like 10 years.
Well, he's been doing some version of the Joe Rogan Experience since 2004 or 2003 even.
So a long time, and then you cash out. You get your big payday and you cash out. Conan owns all of his own stuff, obviously. But even, Satellite paid him a bunch of money, so now I think they own part of it. Anyway, they decided, since James Corden said he didn't want to go on with that show, he's going to go back to England. And he's been saying it for a while, that they're like, who are they going to get? And the smart money was on them getting no one. I did not see this coming, but you might remember the show that was on Comedy Central years ago called At Midnight. And Chris Hardwick was the host. He is not attached to this. I'm not sure how he feels about that. But I thought Chris Hardwick created it. He did not create it. But Stephen Colbert basically owns that whole block now for CBS Late Night. So he is going to be executive producing at midnight.
I won the fan vote or whatever it was because they would have all these contests, like hashtag contests, and it was like make a NBA player a food or something like that.
I remember we used to just all kind of kick in on these.
Right, and it was mine was Dikembe Mutombo, and that was the top hit.
That's good.
And I got on at midnight because of that. That was pretty cool.
It's been off for about 6 years. I guess they decided they're going to bring it back. But they can't possibly do it for an hour. So I'm curious what that second half hour is going to be. I mean, Late Late Show. This will also be the end of the Late Late Show franchise because I remember when they revived it, it was Letterman owned that whole block. When he went over to CBS, Worldwide Pants got their say of who did the show after him. That was part of his contract. He moved to 11:30. He gets to say what follows him. And 20 years ago, he was a big Tom Snyder fan. Tom Snyder was a guy you might remember, if you're old enough, who was a big deal. He had talk shows in the 70s, and he's been dead now probably about 15 years. But when I was a kid, Tom Snyder was like a big deal because he wasn't a conventional talk show host. He'd sit there, and back in the day, you could have a talk show on late night where it was a couple people talking about something intellectually stimulating for an hour, and people would tune in. It ain't like that anymore. So Letterman liked Snyder. Snyder didn't really get any ratings after Letterman. Letterman didn't care. And then it became Craig Kilborn. He left The Daily Show to replace Snyder. And then it became Craig Ferguson, who I thought had the best iteration of that show.
I was going to say the same thing.
So this is basically the end of that Late Late Show thing. It's going to be Colbert. It's going to be at midnight. But again, they're not. I can't imagine they're going to do an hour of At Midnight. It was a 30-minute show on Comedy Central, and they really stretched that out into 30 minutes. Yeah. It's a very thin premise, but it was a fun show.
It was very fun. Topical, punchy, one-liner type jokes. It was like a pretty fun writing exercise.
So that's going to replace Corden. He's going to go back to the UK. He made it pretty clear that they had to drag him kicking and screaming into doing this show in the first place. Les Moonves just threw him a bag of money. But they're not going to be throwing bags of money at people anymore. You're going to have one guy on each network who's going to get some money. You're going to have Fallon on NBC, you have Colbert on CBS, and you have Kimmel on ABC. Jimmy Kimmel's been doing that show for 20-plus years now.
Isn't that crazy?
And he's to the point where when he's like, if you want me to do that, I'll quit. And they'll back off because they don't want to lose him because that's all they got. I mean, reruns of old sitcoms will only get you so far on network television. If it's like a local channel or it's a cable channel or something, you can do that. But there's still, those late night shows still print money. But this is the surest sign that they're like, we're not going to get somebody to replace, we're not going to put another person in a talk show and pay them tons and tons of money. Because all these streamers, all these networks are looking closer than they ever have at the bottom line because there's so much competition now. So Corden will go back to what? Doing stage and doing sitcoms on the BBC and being happy. I'm going to give you money here. I'll throw a bag of money at you right here. Chance to go fund yourself with $1,000. Good luck.
The Buzzard wants you to go fund yourself and score $1,000. Enter the nationwide keyword cash at WMMS.com. That's cash. Enter it now at WMMS.com. And good luck from Buzzard Radio.
Alan Cox Show After Hours line. It's not just Jenna who has access to it. Anybody can call. And a lot of people do. And you can do the same. 216-986-8903 to leave a voicemail.
Hey, Alan, it's Matt. It's about a week ago now, but you guys were talking about being around uncomfortable public breakups. So I was on a flight from O'Hare to Salt Lake City, very crowded flight. I was on the aisle. There was attractive looking, I can only assume Mormon couple sitting next to me because they all seem to be fairly attractive. And they broke up mid-flight, probably while we were over Iowa somewhere. Something came to light about something that the husband had done in Chicago. I was trying not to pay attention, but literally we were sharing a row of 3 seats with them, middle and window, and me on the aisle. And she ended the marriage on the flight.
Wow.
But they continued the flight through the terminal in Salt Lake City. At one point, she takes her wedding band and engagement ring off, throws it at him. I wind up picking it up because it landed on my shoe. Said, "You dropped this," and I gave it back to her. And she was very, grateful that I had given it back to her. But I was curious to see how that turned out. But it was a really uncomfortable, legitimate public breakup.
I would have went to the bathroom and tried to
He would have went, Bill.
I would have gone to the bathroom and tried to find them on social media so I could follow up.
Would you really care that much?
Yes.
But also, how are you going to find them?
But you saw the best part in front of you live in person.
I know, but I want to see. I want to know the backstory.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing.
It sounds like they were being she was being very illustrative
yeah.
of the backstory.
That's crazy.
I want to know more. I want to know how the friends feel.
You want all the dirt.
Because usually, I love the couples who have a shared Facebook because then they know exactly. It's pretty much just all typed by the wife, but the man sometimes is there for pictures or whatever. But if they have a regular Facebook and it just says, "Oh, married to such and such," for however many years, and then that just disappears and there's no announcement. That's very rare. No one's just gonna, maybe a relationship you don't want to call attention to, but when you're getting divorced, you're like, finally, after 34 years of being unhappy, going to therapy, trying my best, going to work day in and day out, I'm free. And then you can see all the comments "Oh, she's too good for you."
I'll tell you what, it is crazy what people in the heat, in the heat of a breakup or whatever, it is unbelievable what people post, especially if they work it out.
Yeah.
Because they have they have unnecessarily. I'm not gonna blow anybody up, but I know how this has happened kind of in a circle close to me, where one person in the relationship aired all this dirty laundry, and then they worked it out. And I'm like, okay, but now everybody who follows you guys knows exactly what happened. It's none of our business.
Right.
Yes,
Didn't need to know.
now.
It really, it's just such bad form. I had a friend years ago who did one of those shared Facebook pages, and I didn't know what it was at first. He lives in Florida, but he's one of the only people I still kind of keep in touch with from high school. And his wife's name was Martha, and it was his name and her name and the last name. And I was like, it didn't even occur. I didn't know that's what it was. I go, his middle name is Martha? This is a guy with a great job, and he's got pictures of his boats, and he's living it up. I go, I've known him since high school. His middle name's Martha? And then I think somebody was like, "No, you dummy, that's him and his wife." That was the first time I'd ever seen a shared Facebook page. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Said, "No, you dummy."
Because he wasn't he was not a kind of guy who was had to hide anything. You know what I mean? It made perfect sense that these two would have a shared Facebook
I don't see it
account.
I don't see it that often, but when I do, I'm like, wow, Facebook can't like that, I imagine, because it throws off the algorithm. You two separate things. The guy might not ever visit it, or he's just when he goes on there, he's just looking and snooping through stuff, maybe looking at a sports highlight, and then the girl's probably going on there to buy I don't know.
Yeah, I think those are usually people that aren't either
on it that often,
or
they just want to keep in touch with
dude,
the
dude
grandkids.
messed up.
Right, show me your passwords, put my name on your face. But that definitely wasn't that. I was just I felt
He's
so
probably
stupid.
just the guy that's not very active on social media.
By the way, has everybody, because of Matt's call there, the people scream at each other in the flight, has everybody seen the story about the guy who's mad because his wife won't call him a pilot?
Yes.
Okay.
What?
So there's a thing
funny.
there's a thing on Reddit, AITA, and it's "Am I the a-hole?" And then people post these things. Hey, am I the a-hole for fill in the blank, right? My MAGA uncle wants to come for Thanksgiving. Nobody wants him there. Am I the a-hole because I said, let's have him and blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, this, I think the guy posted the "Am I the a-hole?" He's like, my job is I'm a manager at a chain restaurant, and I'm embarrassed about it. But my hobby is, for years and years and years, he's like, I'm married, we have whatever. We don't have problems. But he's like, I've spent thousands of dollars on flight textbooks and sim gear. And he goes, I'm an extremely passionate aviation enthusiast. I've never actually flown a plane or done any flight training, but I know all this stuff. And I guess they were at a party and somebody asked, what do you do? And his wife says he manages whatever the fast food chain is. And he got really mad and corrected her and said that he's a pilot. He's like, my wife knows how insecure I am about this, and I would much rather be introduced by my hobby. And of course, everybody started roasting this guy. You know, they're like, yeah, bro, I play a lot of video games, okay? But yes. I'm not landing a plane or
anything. As a plumber that saves princesses, I would just like to say that I'm on this guy's side.
But you know what? My brain automatically went to, and the people who were giving him a hard time are, of course, correct. But I would think that if your wife is cool, she would just go, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
The only trouble is, if she's in on it too, she's going to have to answer questions about her husband being a pilot, and you're putting her in a really bad spot. I mean, it is your hobby. You've never even taken one flight training class, but he's got so much information, I guess, in his brain that he wants to be referred to as his hobby.
Well, I'm a football GM as well, so I just really see where this guy is coming from.
Oh,
you know,
God.
All these years of fantasy football basically put me on that level.
Right. But also you could say, like, he's working toward becoming a pilot. Because that's not a lie.
Right.
And there's still wiggle room there.
Yeah.
You know, your wife wants you to pursue your dreams. She's like, he manages a Wendy's where you can get great stuff at all hours of the day and night.
No,
what?
Breakfast is during breakfast hours only.
Oh.
He'll make that clear.
Oh. All right. If he's a manager, he won't leave that up to chance.
No. I'm trying to think of all the other professions that I have. Professional shoe collector.
Right. Well, listen.
That
Are
was
you?
Actually pretty legit.
I was going to say, yeah, you're not far off.
Yeah.
I don't know what would make it professional, but you could certainly check that box. I got to take a break here. If you want to send a text